Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Kelly, first let me echo the comments of others to thank you for your remarkable 4.5 decades of service to our country and the sacrifices your family has made. I'm particularly appreciative of your wife, Karen, who apparently told you that you had to answer the call once again. And we've seen with your introductions today that you're likely to be confirmed, and I'm just delighted you're willing to serve. I do have 3 areas of inquiry I'd like to touch on, and we talked about some of this in our meeting. The first is your management challenge. You said you've been a member of some large, complex organizations. This will be the most complex and the largest, and it's 240,000 employees. When you look at it, there are probably 20 major offices or departments within it. And as you know, I was part of the select committee in the House to put this together after 9/11, knowing that the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. We had to protect the country. But frankly, I've been frustrated by the lack of progress, and having the department work is one. And it's been mentioned, the morale problems, but there's a lack of coordination in many people's eyes, some inefficiencies. So the first question I would ask you really is a management question. What are the 3 things that you would intend to do to help make the department work more effectively to protect us?
The first thing, I mean, I'm sure you are aware, I know, that the unity of effort that Secretary Johnson has embarked upon, the taking a look around at the other bureaucracies, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all, the way that other departments work. I know the Senate is very aware of the fact that the Department of Defense is a better place today than it was 30 years ago before Goldwater Nichols, and people of my rank, that wasn't my fault at the time, but people of my rank fought tooth and nail against the Congress for 30 years. Ultimately, laws were passed, Goldwater Nichols, and we have become a better place because we've knocked down a lot of the rice bowls, got people talking to each other. Yes, the Marines still are the best, but the other services are pretty good too. But we all have our traditions and ways of thinking and doing business, and we didn't have to give that up when we went to jointness. I think there's a place for that, and I know that Secretary Johnson has already done that. I'm going to get smart about that as fast as I can. I think as much as we can draw. I mean, the mission is Homeland Security. That's a mission I believe everyone can get behind. Just like DOD, the mission is to defend the nation abroad primarily. I don't know if there's been enough of that, but I believe even though there's very separate groups within Homeland Security, if everyone can understand first and foremost we protect the nation, and then we do that in different ways, much like DOD, I think it would go a long way to bringing the department together, much as Secretary Johnson has begun. And then there's just other things. I mean, some of the senators and others have recommended to be some organizational changes. Personnel changes, not individual people, but why has this person got this many undersecretaries or assistants? I take a look at all of that. To Senator McCaskill's point, there's probably efficiencies there and there's savings there, and I commit to the committee for sure.
We would appreciate that, and a top-down review, I think, is always a good idea, as you said, when you come into a new place, but particularly with an agency as complex as this one. One subset let me ask you about is intelligence. I'm also concerned about redundancies in our intelligence community. There's 17 intelligence agencies in the government, if you count them all. 2 of them reside at Department of Homeland Security. One is Coast Guard Intelligence, but the other is this Office of Intelligence and Analysis. And frankly, again, I have not been as impressed as I hoped I would be with their mission, which is really to fuse intelligence from all the different sources together to be able to better protect the country, and including a private sector, a liaison to help with infrastructure. They're supposed to track terrorists and their networks, assess risks, and so on. What's your sense of that entity, and do you think it could be improved?
I think everything can be improved. And what I've learned, and once again, Senator, I've been restricted from actually dealing with Homeland Security. But what I get from the transition team and others that have worked at Homeland Security is that that could be better. The information sharing within the organization and even out to law enforcement. But again, it's way up on the list in terms of things I'll look at.
How about fusion centers? In all of our states, we have fusion centers now. Are they effective? Are they redundant? Should they be wound down? Should they be reinforced? What's your sense of how the fusion centers are working?
Depending on who has talked to me about them, they're effective and they're redundant. Again.
And I think, frankly, even within our states, we might find that some are more effective than others. I would hope you would also, in your top to bottom review, take a look at those fusion centers and be sure they're doing the job they should be doing. My sense is they were also supposed to compile information, and intelligence, you know, is sometimes because classified intelligence is difficult to compile if you're not within the, deeper in the community. Sometimes it's being done by other entities, and there's not information being provided to some of our first responders. But I would love to have your assessment of that once you've had a chance to be on the ground. The final question I have is about the drug issue. And as you heard earlier, this is an epidemic. You and I have talked about it. I loved your testimony before the committee last year. I talked to you about that, and I've complimented you in the committee since then on that, because you focused on the demand side. And I'm a strong believer that until we deal with prevention and education better and treatment and recovery, it's going to be very difficult to stop this flow of drugs. They will find other ways to do it. On the other hand, almost unimpeded now across the southern border. As you say, almost all the heroin is produced, it's consumed here in Mexico, as well as many of the drugs. So two questions. One, what would you do to increase that apprehension? You mentioned interdiction earlier and pushing back beyond the border. And second, we have legislation called the STOP Act, which is intended to deal with this issue of fentanyl and carfentanil, which is a synthetic heroin, really the next wave we're seeing in our communities. That mostly comes by mail, and some of it actually from Mexico, also comes from China directly, then sometimes mixed with heroin in Mexico and brought back in a drug form. But it's not taken by packages across the border physically. It goes through the U.S. mail system. We've tried to work with Customs and Border Protection on this, as well as DEA, and I just wonder if you had any sense of that issue, what you would do, and just your general thoughts on interdiction.
I believe interdiction starts in, talk cocaine or whatever, it starts really where it's produced. The Colombians, to use that example again, do tremendous work in terms of eradicating coca and destroying labs and that kind of thing. Tremendous work and taking huge tonnages off the flow with very, very few naval assets, and I use Coast Guard there as well. Very, very few naval assets. Southcom, and my information's at least a year old, but or right at a year old. But Southcom gets a couple of 100 tons a year. And the beauty of it down there is you get it in 1 ton, 2 ton, 3 ton lots. Once it gets ashore and starts its ride up the network, you know, a big take at the southwest border of, say, cocaine or something like that might be 5, 10, 15 kilos. Mm-hmm. So I think if we could do more with our partners, the problem is, again, not to harp on the demand thing, but if we were to block the network so nothing could get through the southwest border, the so-called balloon effect, they'd find other ways around. The profits are so outrageous. That's why I believe it's all about the demand.
Thank you, General. I appreciate it.
Senator Tester.